Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to do something a little different. Instead of just talking about cyber attacks, we're going to break one down, piece by piece. We're mapping out the exact playbook attackers use to get from the outside all the way to their final target.
So, how does a cyber attack actually happen? From the very beginning to the very end. It's a fantastic question. And the answer? Well, it's almost never that big, dramatic movie moment where someone just types, "I'm in," and that's it. Nope. In the real world, an attack is a whole sequence of calculated steps. It's a methodology, and it has a name, the kill chain.
Yeah, that term kill chain actually comes from the military, and it's a really powerful analogy. Just picture it, a literal chain made of a bunch of connected links. Now, if you're a defender, your goal is actually pretty straightforward. You don't have to stop every single thing the attacker does. To stop the entire attack, you just need to find and break one of those links. That's it.
All right, so let's get into the weeds here. We're going to focus on a specific, really modern framework that came out in 2017. It's called the Unified Kill Chain, or UKC for short. And think of this as the high-definition playbook for how a modern attack really goes down.
So, what makes the UKC so special compared to older frameworks? Well, that's what's so cool about it. See, a lot of the older models are kind of linear. Step A, then B, then C. But the UKC is built for how attacks actually work today. It gets that attacks aren't a straight line. An attacker might get inside and then do more reconnaissance, looping back to an earlier phase. It's just a much more realistic way of looking at things.
And if you want to talk about detail, get this. The UKC breaks down an attack into 18. That's right, 18 distinct phases. And that level of detail, that granularity, is exactly what makes it such a powerful tool. It helps you understand the threat, and more importantly, it helps you defend against it.
Okay, so a really important point here. The UKC isn't meant to be a replacement for everything else out there. Not at all. It's designed to work with other incredibly valuable tools, like the MITRE ATT&CK framework that I'm sure many of you know. The UKC provides that big picture, overarching structure, and then other frameworks can kind of plug right into it.
All right, let's get to the first major phase. We're going to see how this all builds by following an attacker as they try to get what's called an initial foothold. This is all about that first, crucial step, just getting in the door.
Okay, so this is the attacker's opening move, their first campaign. It all starts with reconnaissance. They're gathering intel, maybe scraping LinkedIn for employee names for a phishing attack. Next up, weaponization. This is where they build their tools and set up their infrastructure. Then comes the main event, social engineering or exploitation, where they actually trick a user or abuse a vulnerability to get in. But they're not done. Once inside, they need to establish persistence, a way to stay in, and then they set up what's called a command and control channel so they can talk back and forth with the system they just compromised.
So you can see how knowing these specific steps is just invaluable for defenders, right? It tells you exactly where to put your energy early on. This is why we have security awareness training, to stop that social engineering. It's why we harden our web apps and monitor that perimeter like a hawk. It's all about preventing that very first entry.
Okay, so the attacker is in, but their job is far from over. I mean, getting access to one laptop is just the beginning. Now the real game starts. They have to move through the internal network to find the good stuff, what they're really after.
This is what we call the network propagation or internal expansion phase. First, they use that machine they compromised to pivot and discover what else is on the network. Then, the goal becomes privilege escalation. They need to get more power, maybe become an administrator. How do they do that? Usually by finding and stealing credentials, like dumping passwords or logging keystrokes. And once they have those shiny new credentials, they can start making lateral moves, jumping from system to system, and to everyone else, they look just like a legitimate user.
And this right here is why people say internal security is just as important as your external firewall. It's the perfect example. At this stage, defenders aren't looking at the perimeter anymore. They're focused on monitoring internal network traffic, locking down access controls, and using tools that can spot weird user behavior. Things that just don't add up, like an admin account logging in at 3 a.m. from a country they've never been to.
Okay, we're at the final phase. The attacker has deep access, they're moving around the network pretty freely, they are in position, and they are ready to achieve their ultimate goal. This is it, the end game.
It kicks off with collection, where the attacker is just scooping up all the valuable data they can find, emails, files, you name it. Then comes exfiltration. They have to actually steal the data, sneak it out of the network, often by compressing or encrypting it. Or they might go for pure impact, like deploying ransomware to encrypt everything or just wiping disks to cause chaos. And all of this, of course, is to fulfill their main objective, whether that's making money, damaging a reputation, or good old-fashioned espionage.
And look, understanding what an attacker wants to do at the end is what shapes your last line of defense. This is where things like data loss prevention tools become absolutely critical. It's why having a well-practiced incident response plan and, I can't stress this enough, reliable offline backups can literally be the difference between a bad day and a full-blown catastrophe.
So there you have it. We've just walked through an entire attack, from the initial research all the way to the final payload. But let's step back. Why does mapping it out like this matter so much? Why is this so important for defense?
Well, the answer is right here in this idea. The whole objective is to understand the attacker's process so you can disrupt it. See, when you understand the whole chain, you're not just playing defense and reacting to alerts. You can be proactive. You can look at all 18 of those steps and ask, where is their weakest link? Where is our best chance to intervene and just break the entire chain?
And that's really the big takeaway I want you to have. This whole thing, understanding the unified kill chain, it's not just some academic exercise. It's a fundamental shift in mindset. It's about getting inside the attacker's head. Because when you think like an attacker, when you know their playbook inside and out, step by step, that's when you become a much, much better defender.